How's it going, everyone? For question one regarding employee abusive organizations, there are 7 propositions listed on page 389 in the book. These propositions are relationships that are proposed to exist among concepts. So, for example, the first proposition of the book states that the EAOs, or employee abusive organizations, are likely to develop when abusive employee antagonistic discourse is evident in 2 or more message flows. So the example the book gives is being in the shoes of a workplace victim of bullying from a coworker. So that would be the first message flow, and then you would report that, for instance, to your boss and or your manager, who tells you just kind of to suck it up and keep working. That would be message flow 2. And then over time, you keep getting bullied. Your coworkers watch it happen, but they say nothing, and that would be the third message flow. So I think that it's important to understand propositions like this and the other ones that were listed in the book or in the chapter, because by knowing what to look for in an organization, you could be, the change that that organization could see, or kind of the saving grace, so to speak. Um, by that, I mean, like, if you see an employee facing abuse, you could step in and defend them, or even say something, or just make it known that it's not okay and shouldn't be tolerated. I feel like that's important to recognize as both an employee and as a leader, because if you're a leader, you're the person that everyone else looks up to. So you should kind of make that stand, and like if you were the leader, you shouldn't be telling them to suck it up. You should be dealing with the problem in a professional way. In my professional history, I have worked with managers who have done exactly that. They would tell people who came to them with problems to deal with it before I have to get involved. And what ends up happening is sometimes they would resolve it, but most of the time it would escalate, and it would get to a point where the situation would spiral out of control, and then we had to have someone from like corporate management come down, and they'd have to be like a third party, arbitrator to basically fix the issue, and it just got way out of hand more than it ever should have. The relationship between organizational justice and retaliatory behavior, in my opinion, is the part of actually getting justice. So organizational justice is about social change. The book uses the examples of distributive justice, which is on page 404, which is the apportionment of rewards maximized in comparison to the perceived costs. The procedural justice, which is on page 405, which is the idea that the processes and decision-making involved in resolving disputes and allocating resources is fair. And then interactional justice, which is on pages 405 and 406, which is the degree to which someone is treated with dignity and respect during decision-making processes. So in terms of the retaliatory behavior on page 407 and 408, that would be where an employee might be disgruntled due to someone else getting something that they'd wanted, or something happening to them that they deem to be unfair. In turn, this employee might seek to cause injury or wrongdoing to the organization itself, or even to another employee who might have, they thought, didn't deserve what they got. This, in a sense, is kind of their own way of making things right, or getting the justice that they want or think they deserve. I've seen retaliatory behavior in my workplace where an employee agreed to work a closing shift, and basically the idea behind it was that they would get a raise. It wasn't much, it was only 25 cents, but the idea was that, hey, if you work this, go from your midday shift, the shift that everyone kind of wants, to a closing shift, your incentive was to get a bit of a raise. And basically what happened is they saw that there was a little bit of additional work, like at the end of the day you have to do extra like cleaning and closing procedures and things like that, and they wanted to switch back to the day shift, which, fine, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But they were told that they wouldn't be getting the 25-cent raise, as that was kind of the incentive or the point of going and working the closing shifts. And basically they argued that like, you can't say that I get a raise and then take it away. Like, that's illegal because, like, you're withholding that from me. So it turned into a thing where they called HR, and HR basically told them, like, well, did you or did you not stick with the closing shifts? And they said, well, they did it for it was like a week, and then they decided they didn't want to do it anymore. And basically HR told him, like, that's, unfortunate the raise hadn't been applied yet. It was, after it would take, at the time the pay period is every 2 weeks, so it wouldn't have taken effect till the 2 weeks anyway after that. But they were willing to go back and basically say for the week that you worked that, they would give them the raise. But the employee wanted the raise permanently, and that was when it kind of turned into HR told them, well, we'll have to review like your regular raise. It was, I can't remember if it was semi-annual or annual, but basically at your review, that was where they'd say, we'll review all of your stuff then, and figure out what's going to happen there. So long story short, this person went back to middays, but they just became super irritable. They weren't putting effort into work anymore. It just kind of rolled downhill. So I guess my question that I have for you, those of you watching this video, is, who do you think is in the right or who do you think is in the wrong in the situation? I kind of feel I'm a little bit too close to because I was there when all this kind of happened and I saw it firsthand. So I kind of know what I think, but I'm curious what everyone else thinks. So they were basically offered a raise on the account that they were supposed to work closing shifts and become the new closers. They decided after a week they didn't like it, but they wanted to have the raise still, and they wanted it before their semi-annual or annual review process. And mind you that at that time it's not just 25 cents. It's they'd give you a substantial amount for cost of living and other things there too. So it would have been more than that, but the 25 cents was just for that incentive. So I guess long story short is, do you think that them not getting a raise was kind of grounds for them to be disgruntled and cause that kind of animosity in the workplace for something that they chose to, after trying it out, back out of? Or, I mean, I guess I'm just curious what your guys' opinions are, and just throw them in the comments, and, we can chat about it. What I think is one of the most important, or what is of the most importance for Chapter 6 that wasn't brought up, was extreme careerism. That's on page 400, or starts on page 400, and it's the promotion of negative impression management tactics to help one get ahead in the workplace. I can't remember if I used this example before, but it kind of reminds me of a saying that I heard or read somewhere that goes along the lines of, people aren't always out like against you, but they are always for themselves, or something along those lines. And in this case, your fellow coworkers might actually be out to get you in order to help themselves. So when I worked at Comcast and I had a coworker, I was on basically teams, and we had kind of solo competitions where you compete against everyone in the department, and then you would also have team competitions where if you were at the top of your team, you could also get rewards too. So and I mean, these were things like you could win like TVs or Nintendo Switches, like you could get some, kind of cool stuff. And it was for doing things like selling the most DVRs or something to a customer, like just, things that kind of come up and happen. Well, basically, if you won both the single and the team, competition, you could actually win twice as effectively, and which is awesome. Like, you can do it, but there was a person who I worked with who he would take, I'm going to say, like, the easier calls from the queue, and by that I mean calls that are kind of like a slam dunk, like someone's calling and actively wants to get like Comcast service. Well, if they're getting service and you're setting them up, it's pretty obvious that if you put them with cable and say the right things, there's a good chance you're going to get a sale right there, or one tally on your DVR sale. Whereas if you're kind of taking the other calls that are things like might have nothing to do with a DVR, like they want to, like they're having internet issues and you need to help them reset that, or I mean, and part of the process was you're supposed to ask them, like, is there anything else we can help you with on your plan? Like, do you want to update or change plans or whatever, kind of like that. Well, not really change, but update them basically. So anyways, long story short is he kind of got, or would pick those calls that were kind of those slam dunk wins. And if you're effective, you could set people up in 15 minutes. So if you take that in your 8-hour day and you just kind of keep going with it, you could effectively kind of win those competitions really, really easily. And they probably have changed it now since then, and since people kind of figured out tricks like that. But that's when I was there, kind of how it was when they started these, the first time of kind of doing these incentive programs. So like I kind of said, he could spend 5, 10, 15 minutes with these people to get them set up and get this line added or this DVR added to plan, and it would help him win. Whereas, there was other things we had to deal with, like I said, troubleshooting or other, sometimes these issues take 30 to 45 minutes to resolve, and that makes it where you don't get a tally for selling a DVR, even though you helped this customer out, but it also took 30 to 45 minutes of your day, where you have now less of a chance and less time to effectively go kind of win in these competitions. And the thing is like you, to a point, they would let you kind of, you know, pick in the queue where you wanted to be at the time again. Um, but part of the issue with that is then you have those other, people who are in your team who are kind of getting, because you have to basically take all the calls at some point in your queue. You want to respond to all the customers, make sure no one's like left behind. And so you're not supposed to like just, you can't skip calls, but you can kind of go through and figure out how to deal with them the best way possible. Because some people are better at dealing with troubleshooting issues, some people are better at sales, so you just kind of go from there. But what ends up turning into it is you have these things where some people just get these really crappy calls constantly, and some people get these really nice, easy, chill flow calls. So basically, in that sense, he would kind of just take off and do all what I would call the easy calls that we had, and leave all the harder stuff for the rest of the team. So he was always on top of our team. He always had a lot of calls taken. In some ways, people were even like compared to, oh, try to be more like so and so, and it's like, well, if I'm like him, then I'm just gonna be doing the easy stuff. So I guess why not. But yeah, it just kind of made it hard on all of us. And it was something that helped him out, and in a way, it like did make our team overall look good. But when it actually came to our team stats, we would all be like way lower than he was, and it just wasn't an ideal situation. But I wasn't there for too long, so I didn't have to deal with it for super long either. So thanks, guys. Bye.